Now the rockers I have unfortunately are a little bit marked, and whether you can see that, try and get the light right. There's sort of a round ring there which corresponds to the top of the valve stem. Now that appears on pretty well most of the rockers I have, not only on the ones I'm putting on the car but also on the other ones I have lying around. Now I'm going to dress that up a little bit, just a light grind. It's not very deep, but it certainly would affect setting the gap of the feeler gauges. So I'll dress it up first on the grinding wheel, and then when I've removed the offending part, which is say not all that much, I'll then put it on the oil stone to polish it up. So I had to make a jig. There's the jig there. The jig just puts it in there, and then you basically move the tappet backwards and forwards lightly, and it follows the profile of the profile on the end of the rocker arm there. Now I've done one, but I'll just do this one and show you the result. You don't put a lot of pressure on it. It's only a very light grind. I don't want to put any heat into this. There obviously was some form of hardening on the rocker. It's hard to say how deep that hardening goes. When you look at the internet, there are different opinions, like most things. Some say the hardening goes all the way through. Some say it's only fairly thin. Others say the round ring caused by the valve stem actually hardens the pad in any event. So who knows? But at this stage I'll do it very lightly. I won't apply any heat, won't remove all that much, and I'll see if I can get a nice even face on that. So I'll just do it now, and I'll come back and show you the result. Alright, there's the end result. As I say, it only took basically 2 passes on the grinding wheel. As I say, no heavy pressure, just very lightly, no heat build up in the part at all, and then clean it up on the oil stone. I'll probably clean those up a little bit more, but at this stage I'll just keep going and do the others. Can you get this done at a machine shop? I tried with the Ferguson tractor unsuccessfully. I was kindly told that they could have dressed them up with a file, or basically get another set. I was told that this is not often done anymore. I mean, it used to be done. So the machinery has just gradually disappeared, certainly locally anyway. You might be able to find someone that has the required gear, but certainly engine machining shops don't seem to carry them anymore. Anyway, seems to have cleaned up alright, good enough for the amount that I'll use the car, so I'll just continue. I've just fitted up the rockers. Haven't closed the tabs yet, still got to do that. I've adjusted the rockers, the tappets. Now I'll probably do that again once the engine's started, but at least I've got them pretty well in the right positions at this stage. You'll recall that I actually had this completely apart, and that's fine so long as you put it back together properly. So you need to keep track of what spaces go where and what rockers go where and so on. So I kept a record of that. But the most important thing is to make sure that the rocker shaft is in the right position when you put it back on. Now the oil feed, it comes up and lubricates the rockers. You can see the little hole there. It comes up into the centre of the shaft and then lubricates the bearings in the rockers, and then drips out the little hole there and then lubricates everything else. Now the feed for the or the main feed for the oil comes up through this rear stand here, this rear mount. Now on the shaft there is actually a hole at one end of the shaft, and that hole lines up with the hole coming up through here. And if you can, whether you can see down the top there, there is actually a hole. In that hole there is a hole in the shaft, you can see there. Now that needs to be lined up that way. If it's not, you're getting no lubrication to the rockers. So I've made sure that was okay, and having done that and everything else, I can then put this little bolt, locating bolt, to lock that in position. So I'll do that next. But apart from that, it's a fairly straightforward process, and it's just another piece out of the pile of parts that I don't have to worry about. I'm about to fit the starter motor. This one is actually made in 51, so it's not the one off the car. You can build these or rebuild them yourself. You can still get parts for them, or enough parts for them. Obviously you can't, finding these are a little bit harder, but most of this was okay on this one. I didn't rebuild this one myself. I actually gave it to a friend of mine who's an auto electrician, and he spends most of his days now repairing vehicles just by replacing electrical parts. He enjoys actually working on them, being an old school auto electrician. So he actually loves doing these. So I gave it to him. He checked the windings, they're all okay. New brushes. He decided to put a new spring in here. He's got a collection of these, so he pulled some out of his old stock. So this is now quite operational, and I'll just bolt it back onto the vehicle. I've bolted on the starter motor. It's an easy job. I've yet to do the cable. I've got one to go on there, so I've got to feed that in through the channel there and tie it onto the chassis itself. Put the side cover on. I've just nipped it up at the moment. Problem when you put any Celastic on it is the gasket tends to move, so I'm pretty sure I've got it in the right position. I made it slightly oversized so I can trim it a bit, but I'll tighten it up once that Celastic goes off. The rocker cover gasket, so I made one of those up as well. Only putting Celastic on one side. The reason for that is that I want to retorque the head after the motor's been run for a little bit. So I don't want to put any Celastic on the top. I've got on the bottom, and I'll just drop the rocker gear, the rocker cover on the top, and nip it down just a little bit, not too much. So I'll just do that now. Okay, just drop that on. Haven't quite nipped it up yet, just tightening those down a little bit. So I'm not going to tighten it up too much, so I want to make sure I've got the gasket in the right position. And it started to move out there even when I dropped that on, so I've got to make sure it's in the right position before I nip it up. So I'm not tightening it down fully because this will come off again. Now there's a few things to put on this. There's a breather pipe on there I've got to find. The inlet manifold, I've just hung one on there at the moment. I don't know whether I'll use this one pardon me, or one of the other ones I've got. I'll just have to look to see which is the one in the better condition. The problem is that they're corroded. I assume this is aluminium. It's corroded out in the at the end here, so I'll see if I can find one that's in better condition, and if I can I'll bolt that on along with the exhaust manifold. So when I find all the studs and nuts, so I've still got to find those somewhere. Anyway, it's still coming together. I'll be working on the oil filter soon. Just waiting on some parts of making the modification to convert it to a paper element rather than felt. Now the instructions for that are on the DB18 website. Steve Moore from the New South Wales Club has got a very good article on how to make the modifications. Sorry, that's the petrol pump, oil pump, wrong one. And he's also, actually, Steve Moore's also got some instructions on how to refurbish the fuel pump. So I've got to find the fuel pump. It's lying around somewhere, and see what condition that's in as well. I've just been cleaning up and modifying the oil filter, what do you call this? Oil filter mounting. You can find instructions on the DB18 website. You'll see that there's an article written by Steve Moore from the Australian New South Wales Daimler Club. It's a very good article. Gives you all the things you need to do to improve the flow, and also to be able to fit paper cartridge filter. And that's the filter that goes on. Paper cartridge one. I think it's probably suitable for MGBs as well. So I've got that. To modify it, just let's say you can read it yourself, but you've got to reduce the diameter of the support here, this one here. You reduce that by 1 inch in diameter. So I've done that. Also to make a few little slots in the housing here to enable better flow of oil. So I've done that. Cleaned up all the parts, of course. There's not many parts in there. There's a what do they call this? It's actually written on it. It's a little valve in here you've got to clean up. Balance valve it's called. So I've cleaned that up, taken all the sludge out. It operates fine. All the housing's been cleaned. Let's say the modifications have been done. Now the other thing you need to do is to get a new seal. And this is a seal for the actual housing when it goes on. Now I got this one off the internet. Now when I put the video together, I'll see if I can find who I bought that from. It came from China. I assume it will work. It's the right size. I've got to stretch it a little bit, but it'll go in the slot. It's the right depth. And what it has, I'll just hold it up to the camera. It's recessed one side, flat on the other. So what I'll be doing is I'll be mounting it on that way. Now it's got a lip on the top of that. You can see the edge. There's a lip on the top, and there's a, mightn't be able to see that, and there's a lip on the bottom. The lip on the bottom will provide a good seal against the inner part of the housing there. When this is pushed down on top, this inner lip should provide a good seal on the top part of that, and then that will compress down into the groove. Now, it appears to be ideally suited to the purpose. It's just a generic seal, but as I say, when I put the video together, I'll try and find the reference to who I got this from on eBay. I'm hoping it will work. Looks like it will. So it fits in the slot reasonably well. Just got to push it around and it will push down into it and hopefully provide enough seal all the way around. Anyway, so I've got that. I've just got to assemble it all, and I've got to make a new gasket. But all in all, it should. I can put the filter on there. There's the filter. The rubbers that come with the filter won't fit. So you can put those away in your spares. But the filter, so we want to put that on the top. Spring goes under that. That will mount onto that, and hopefully provide a good seal. Won't know that until I actually start the engine up, which is a fair way off yet, but anyway. So that's what I've done. All I've got to do now is to say make the seal between the housing and the block, and put it together and then mount it on the car.